I struggled with all my strength, but they laid me on the sacrificial altar. No, please, let me go. Mom. Dad, why don't you interfere? The freako was already reaching for my throat. Is this the end? And I had so many plans for my new life. It all started when we moved here. On the first day, I told the whole class that I wanted to be a class president, and no one seemed to like it. My classmates called me an upstart and locked me in the locker room after class. I thought I was going to stay there until morning, but my classmate Kurt rescued me. He said that he was also locked in the school closet. After that, Kurt began to choke. I was so scared. He took the inhaler out of his pocket, but his hands were shaking so badly that he dropped it. I immediately picked it up and gave it to Kurt. When he felt better, he said that he was excited by the memory of the closet. From stress, he sometimes had asthma attacks. Afterward, Kurt walked me home. I was in a great mood. I think I had a friend. And I told him he could come to me whenever he wanted. In the evening, when we were going to have dinner, the doorbell rang. It was Kurt, with his parents. It was strange that Kurt came unannounced, and with his parents, but I was glad to see him anyway, and invited them inside. Over dinner, my parents and Kurt became very friendly. They gave us a book about the Aztecs and invited us to the book club. They said that at the next meeting there, they would discuss how sacrifices helped enlightenment. I thought it was very strange to discuss such a thing in a quiet suburb, but my parents really liked it at the club. They began to disappear there and made many friends. After one meeting, my mother brought a bottle of red, smelly liquid and said it was a rabbit blood. Yes, that's what I believe. Not funny at all, Mom. But at dinner, she put it in my face. She said it was good for the body and soul. I flatly refused to drink it. A couple of days later, Kurt called and invited us to spend a weekend at his family estate. All the members of the book club would be there. My parents were happy, and I didn't want to go to the fart party. I was afraid of hurting Kurt. Besides, I'd never been to the family estates, so I agreed. Kurt's country house was huge, a whole castle in the middle of the forest, surrounded by a high fence. Near the entrance, the guards asked me to hand over my phone. Kurt explained that otherwise, the internet would distract from live communication. I had to give my phone to these big guys. We were invited to lunch. I saw huge tables with white tablecloths and my parents at one of the tables. They motioned for me to sit next to them. What a solemn atmosphere. I hope they bring me something delicious. I'm so hungry. But they brought us glasses with a thick red liquid. I immediately refused to drink it. Then some crazy old man started yelling at me, saying that I didn't respect the traditions of the community. It was the elixir of youth, rabbit blood. So Mom wasn't kidding. To drink blood? No way. I won't. Are you crazy? The guards immediately grabbed me and led me out from the table. What's going on here? I called my parents, but they didn't even turn around. I tried to pull away, but my vision suddenly blurred. I woke up in a rabbit cage. How did this happen? I panicked, but I couldn't move. The cage was so cramped. My whole body ached from the awkward position. Why are you doing this to me? Suddenly, Kurt appeared out of the darkness with a bunch of keys. He saved me again. I started to run, but Kurt stopped me. It turns out that I insulted all the members of the club by not drinking rabbit blood. It was sacred, and the rejection of it promised the whole community misfortune. What nonsense! Kurt said that he was scared himself. There was nothing like this at the previous meetings. But it was too dangerous to run now. The whole area was guarded and we'd better think about how to pass unnoticed. He was probably right. Kurt led me into the house. They were all wearing animal masks, moving rhythmically to some strange music. A man in a mask with horns came up to me and asked me if I realized everything. I immediately asked for forgiveness. After that, I was told that I would have to make amends tomorrow. The community had already found some kind of task for me. In the morning, all the guests dragged some heavy iron cases out of the basement and put them in the cars. I was already exhausted. Suddenly, I stumbled and dropped one case. My parents immediately shouted at me to be careful. When everyone left for lunch, I decided to find out what was so valuable inside these cases. I opened one of them, and there were bloody human organs inside. Heart, lungs. I touched it with trembling hands. They were so cold and slimy, I almost threw up. I've got to get out of here. I couldn't find a place until nightfall. I flinched at every rustle, afraid that someone would come for me. I was beginning to think Kurt had left me. He knocked on my door after midnight. Kurt found a gap in the fence, and we needed to run right now. We were almost to the fence when I heard the guard's footsteps. They were getting closer. Damn it. We hid behind the rose bushes. The thorns bit painfully into my arms. I couldn't help but cry out. The guard immediately pointed his flashlight at us. This was the end. Then Kurt picked up a rock from the ground and threw it in the direction of the road. The guard turned around and headed there. And we ran as fast as we could. When the estate was already far away, we decided to take a break. I had no strength left and it was terribly hot. We sat down on a fallen tree and Kurt took off his hoodie. His inhaler fell out of his pocket. I picked it up and was about to put it back when I saw the phone light up in his pocket. Kurt, where is it from? Kurt, are you with them? I jumped up and backed away. And Kurt gave me a nasty smile. I was paralyzed with fear. I ran with the last of my strength, and everything went dark. I woke up on Kurt's shoulder. He was dragging me deeper into the woods. My hands were bound by his hoodie. Let me go! I tried to pull away, but he only got angry. He said that I was honored to be chosen, that my kidneys and heart would serve the stronger and more worthy. Then I remembered the organs in the cases. I started kicking and screaming for him to let me go, but it was no use. He wasn't listening to me. Just then, Kurt carried me out into a large clearing. In the middle was a huge bonfire, next to which was an altar. It was surrounded by people in white robes, the same guests I'd seen at dinner. As soon as they noticed Kurt, they bowed oddly in front of us. For a moment, it was very quiet. Even rabbits in the huge cases did not make a sound. 2 guards grabbed me and dragged me to the altar. No, please, don't. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed my parents among the cultists. Mom, Dad, why don't you do anything? But they didn't even look in my direction. Their eyes were fixed on Kurt, who was following me regally. I was forced down on the altar, and the rope was tightly tied around my arms. I was shouting for them to let me go. But then Kurt came up to me and the cultists started shouting his name. No, Kurt! Don't you dare touch me! His face was covered in sweat, and his hands were reaching for my throat, second by second, getting closer and closer. When suddenly, he coughed and began to choke. This was my chance. I struggled to free my hand. Isn't that what you're looking for? I was clutching the inhaler Kurt had dropped on the way. Let me go and you'll get it back. Kurt was frantically gasping for air. He just toppled over from suffocation. In the end, he turned pale and grabbed a huge cage to keep from falling. With his last breath, he nodded so that they released me. After the guards took the ropes off me, I threw the inhaler with all my might somewhere in the darkness of the night. Holding his throat, Kurt followed, disappearing into the trees. And then the cultists began to surround me. Their eyes glittered from under their hoods. I couldn't find a single drop of humanity in them. Cultists were coming from all sides. It felt like they were going to tear me apart with their hands. I was trapped. Their hands were almost touching me. But when they came close, then they suddenly dropped to their knees. My father said that I had taken power from the last priest, and from that day on, they would worship me. The cultists fell silent at my feet, waiting for the order. What a turn! I turned to where Kurt was crawling in the dark. What a pathetic rabbit. Grab him. I ordered.
Did you like the story? Then hug your pets. Put a like and other viewers will see it. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss our new videos.